to them, "Be not afraid. Go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me." Now when they were going, behold, some of the watch came into the city, and showed unto the chief priests all the things that were done. And when they were assembled with the elders, and had taken counsel, they gave large money unto the soldiers, saying, "Say ye, his disciples came by night, and stole him away while we slept. And if this come to the governor's ears, we will persuade him and secure you." So they took the money, and did as they were taught. And this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Joshua had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, even while some doubted. And Joshua came and spake unto them, saying, "All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, immersing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you alway, even unto the end of the age." Matthew 28.
Get down on their knees. Yes, if they knew ya like I know ya.
We need some wisdom. We need the truth. We need some beauty. We need the proof. And in the meantime, I know that he's inside. Now I know Joshua, and I'm satisfied. Now listen, went to the ocean, stood in the surf. I heard the water, I felt the earth. I heard the angels, I couldn't be denied. Now I know Joshua, and I'm satisfied. We learn to believe him. He's the only righteous man. I try to do the best I can. He is the teacher. The truth is in the Son. We can leave it all behind. This carnalness.
We got some wisdom.
We got Joshua's wisdom. Joshua is the truth.
We got some beauty.
He's got plenty of beauty.
We got the
He gives all kinds of proof.
in the meantime.
Oh, that means right now. That means right now the Holy Spirit is inside. Now I know Yahshua and I'm satisfied. Okay, let's sing. Yahweh is the reason.
Oh, he's the reason
That we were born.
that I was born.
Yahshua's the answer.
Oh, he's the answer.
We all been looking for.
Yeah, I was looking.
All the others, they stood around and lied.
Oh, they lied.
Yes, they did. But now we know Yahshua.
Oh, I know Yahshua.
That makes us satisfied.
Oh, yeah, and I'm so satisfied.
Sing it, choir. We got Yahshua's wisdom. Yahshua is the truth. He's got plenty of beauty. He gives all kinds of fruit now. Oh, that means right now. Right now, the Holy Spirit tabernacles inside. Now I know Yahshua. That makes us satisfied. Thank you, Yahshua. You made us satisfied.
Ooh, yeah. I'll do
What he wants me to.
whatever he wants.
Whatever he wants me to do.
I'll try to do my
I'll
best.
try to do my best.
I'll try to stand my
I'll
test.
try to stand my test.
I'll let my little light
I'll
shine
let my little light shine.
for some more sheep.
Some more sheep try to find.
I'll go through the storm and the rain.
Under the storm and rain.
I'll try hard not to complain.
I'll try hard not to complain.
Oh,
I will do His will. Oh, 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 oh. I will do
His will. It's mighty nice
It's mighty nice.
to do His will. He bore His cross up the rugged hill. It was mighty nice. He gave up His life. Ooh, yeah. And when it's over one day, and let me be by His side. But until that day comes, I'll do
What he wants me to.
whatever He wants.
Whatever he wants me to do.
I'll try to do my
I'll
best.
try to do my best.
I'll try to stand my
I'll
test.
try to stand my test.
I'll let my little light
I'll
shine
let my little light shine.
for some lost sheep.
Some more sheep try to fly.
I'll go through the storm and the rain.
Under the storm and rain.
I'll try hard not to
I'll
complain.
try hard not to complain.
Oh,
I will do His will. Oh, oh, oh. I will do His will.
it's mighty my best.
I'll try to do my best.
I'll try to stand my
I'll
test.
try to stand my test.
I'll let my little light shine.
I'll let my little light shine.
For some lost sheep.
Some more sheep try to fly.
I'll go through the storm and the rain.
Under the storm and rain.
I'll try hard not to complain.
I'll try hard not to complain.
Oh,
I will do His will. Oh, 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 oh. I will do His will. Oh, 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 oh. I will do His will. Oh, 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 oh. I will do His will. Oh, 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 oh.
I will be the reader for this evening, and the first speaker for this evening will be Dr. Susan Craig.
Well, good evening. We will do His will. Good, bad, ugly, saved, not saved. Dr. Kinley said we all have our part to play. So we will do His will. So I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm glad to be able to have a knowledge and understanding of my Creator in these last days. It seems like, told my husband today, I said, you know, there's one thing, the devil's on everybody. The blessing for us is we know it. Some people don't, right? So, because things are not really great in the earth plane. Everybody's got their trials and tribulations that they're going through. One way or another, there's something. And, but the only thing that sustains us right now is our Savior. And I'll tell you, for me, for what, you know, Yahshua has put on my life lately, you know, has allowed Satan to vex me, is the only thing that's saving me getting through my day is to come here. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't spend my days looking at transcripts, reading transcripts, looking, I mean, I probably every day there's a transcript or a video, a stream on my television, because I tell you what, television, why bother? Just put on class, you know, because there's nothing else. But coming here is, there's something else here, to be in this room with this all around us, and we are encompassed by this divine vision and revelation. And we are inundated in it when we come in here. We can actually just put up all the cares of the world, you know, and just come in here and sit and be at peace for a couple hours a few times a week. So it's well worth it. And there's many out there in TV land or Ustream land or YouTube or whatever it is who do not realize how important it is to be here. And that means that nothing should be getting in the way of you being able to come here. If you live within 30 miles of this room, what is keeping you from coming here tonight to hear this in person live. Not 2 hours later, because that's when the time you've got and you're just going to take the stream that she puts up. I said to my husband the other night, the best thing that would be for this institute right now, a good test for everyone who's in this, who claims to be a Yahshuan, quote unquote, would be to stop the Ustreams live, the YouTubes. Stop them. And you can't watch them. There's plenty of archived YouTube on that thing to last you until you're dead. You could be born today and live another 80 years and you'd have plenty of those archived classes. But people take advantage of this YouTube. And and I'm just saying it like it is, because you take advantage of this YouTube and think that you're going to get what you need by watching it live. And you're not. You got to be in here to see this vision, to hear this vision preached. I'm telling you, it's not going to get better. The earth plane is not going to, this heat is just an example of how it is heating up spiritually. And Yahweh's getting ready to take this out. Many are called, few are chosen. And the chaff's going to be separated from the wheat, the lambs from the goats, and you're just, if you read about Lazarus, in the bosom of Lazarus, read about Abraham in the bosom of Lazarus, and you talk about how that the rich man and Lazarus, right? And the rich man, he fared sumptuously in his life, and Lazarus was poor. He was boiled over in sores. I mean, the dogs were licking his sores. And I'll tell you what, you think about that, that's physical. You just take that and think about that spiritually. Let's look at that psychologically, you can't see my boils and sores right now, okay? But let me say, so the rich man would eat sumptuously at his table, and Lazarus is getting crumbs. And then they both die. Of course, you know that the poor Lazarus is going to die. The rich man probably thought he'd never die, as they usually do. And in the bosom of the Father is where where Lazarus went. Of Abraham, a type of being in the bosom of the Father. And that's where he went. And it was a type of going to heaven. And the rich man went to a type of going to hell. And it talks about a great gulf between the two of them. Now this is, she said, fixed. A fixed gulf. In other words, there's no him coming to him and him coming to him. There's nothing going to be coming between them. And all that rich man wanted was what Lazarus had. That's all he wanted, was to be able to have what Lazarus. Now, how might I have brethren who are still alive, the rich man said. What can I do for them that they might not wind up like me? Because I'm telling you what, this is your answer right now, what we might do for you so you don't wind up like that rich man. You have to hear this gospel preached. And you also have to preach it. You have to come here because we need you here to preach this gospel to the world. Not everybody wants to hear it, but apparently a lot of people are hearing it who have never been to a class. Now, these people have never been to a class because there's no class for them to go to. And that's what the YouTube is for them. Outreach, exactly. And this is exactly what Dr. Kinley would have wanted, because he told us to go out and preach this gospel to the world. And this is the best we can do, because we ain't, none one of us is rich. To be able to travel the world and do like Kenneth Copeland does and grabs a jet and flies off to think, and he thinks he's preaching the gospel, but he's not. Because if the gospel has been preached throughout the whole world like they believe they're doing, then how come the end hasn't come yet? So the YouTube's for them, not for people who can come here on a Friday night and listen to this gospel. The bars, the kids, the work, the whatever you've got to do will wait. You got tomorrow. Tonight's Friday. It's class. It's like Tondi used to say, I get up Monday morning, I'd go Wednesday's class, Friday's class, Sunday's class. Got to plan my week accordingly, and that's what you do. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. You get up in the morning and on Wednesday morning and you just plan the day that you're going to, you know, I got to drive like almost 35, 40 minutes to come here. We just plan well ahead of time to say that that's what we've got to do. So dinner isn't at 6 o'clock, it's at 5 o'clock. Showers aren't at before bed that night, they're before we come to class, whatever. You just plan out your day to be here. Okay, I'm retired, I have that luxury that I can take all day to do it, but there's others that are here that are still working a 9 to 5 or whatever it may be, and they still have to plan accordingly. Come to class. Dr. Kinley said one thing. Come to class, be here. And when you said be here, it doesn't mean you come here and start thinking about all the things that you're missing out on or you should have been doing or you could have been doing. So I got on my bandwagon about that, but it's so echoey in here tonight. And, you know, it would be nice if we had, you know, more than just the angels in heaven. You know, it would. Because they appreciate it. And we'll be like them. Some of us will be like them someday.
Yeah, right. Tell the world about the thing that chart of the angel.
Oh, she wants me to say that. When I painted this chart, Dr. Kinley, this is the product of his divine vision and revelation. And in 1994, Yahshua put it on my heart and mind to paint a chart. So I started painting this chart. And I'll just give you one example of how crazy I was that I decided to do this. I didn't know a thing about what I was doing. Not a thing. It's really strange to me to see this chart replicated all over the Institute. In the mini charts and in the, you know, they've taken this chart, this paint, and there are a lot better beautiful charts out there to have taken, but this is the one that got out there, whatever. But when I painted this chart, first of all, I drew it all out. I drew out every figure, every little scene that I could do, right? And then I proceeded to paint it. The paintbrush was smaller than my little finger. I painted the whole chart with a brush not wider than maybe a quarter of an inch.
Wow.
So I'm painting like this on a wall in my basement with a little paintbrush, everything that I could paint. Now, while I painted that, I took pictures. And I would take pictures as I went along, so I could take pictures of it drawn, pictures of it painted. And when those pictures got developed, there's a couple of photographs where there's, at one point, there's this, and there was no reason for this to happen. There was nothing wrong with the film because it wasn't on any other pictures on the same roll of film. By the way, that might be archaic for some of you who don't even know what film is, that you put in a camera and you take pictures and then you take it to the drugstore and you drop it off and then 3 days later or a week later you get the pictures. That's what used to happen a long time ago. So when I picked them up and we were looking at the pictures, there's a picture of an apparition, like an angel. And I said it was like an angel because when you looked at it, the way that it was like a form, a luminous form, going like this at the chart. How do you explain that? There are angels among us. And they're here tonight. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I've been studying some stuff, and I'm going to hopefully I get some time to do this. I haven't done it all yet because I'm lazy. I'm really lazy. And I put things off. I'm also old and I get scatterbrainy. You know, I can't sit down and concentrate for long periods of time. It's like I want to, but I can't. I just start losing it and I'm thinking, what's wrong? Can't. Oh, I found out I can use menopause for that. Because they say menopausal women get kind of scatterbrained. So I'm going to use that. And I've only been in menopause for 14 years, so I don't know how long I can use that. So anyway, so let's say this. But I did lose my estrogen, and I haven't gotten it back, so there you go. All right, so what I was looking at, because last year I decided to read the Elohim books. So I read all the volumes last year. Now, how much do you think I got out of that? I got about, okay, let's say that they're this thick. I got about that much out of it, because I'm going to have to read them again, because I don't retain everything that I read. But I certainly did. Now, I got to say this. I've been in class for a long time, and having read those, and having read some of them through the years, but not all at once from 1 to 4, all volumes, I can't say that years ago I even understood anything. I mean, I think a lot of us can attest to, didn't really quite get it, how they were written, but boy, through the years, having heard this vision and revelation again, having been under the auspices of the teaching, I really did understand a lot more in the volumes than I ever did in my life, because that's what Dr. Kinley teaches, or taught. All right, so in volume 4, I decided, David Underwood recently was going through, he had this thing called the RCC, which is the Roman Catholic Church, Claims and Divine Rebuttals. And he had this about, oh my gosh, maybe, I don't know when it was quite a while ago. And I was the reader that night, so he handed me this, and I took it and read from it for him as much as he needed to get out. And then when it was done, I took it. I asked him if I could keep it. So anyway, so it gave me the idea to go over those divine rebuttals. And that's on page, what I wanted to do was, I started reading those rebuttals. And what I wanted to do, so you're going to get volume 4, Danielle, is go through each one of those rebuttals and kind of break it down in trying to understand what was being said by the Roman Catholic Church and the rebuttal of the IDMR or Dr. Kinley, okay? So it's page 82. So I decided I'd go through them. Well, I realized there's 17 rebuttals, and what I wanted to go through, one rebuttal, the first rebuttal took me like, I'm gonna say 5 hours. 5 hours for like a couple of paragraphs to go through and do all my research and everything I wanted to check out. So it was, and then the second one isn't that bad, that wasn't that long, but some of these rebuttals, because of the information that's in there and I wanted to pull that out, took me longer. So anyway, so first I'm gonna have you go to 82 eventually, Danielle, but I want you to start with page 59, and you're gonna start reading at page 59 in the 4th volume.
Page 59, volume 4. It says the Roman Catholic sign of the cross or the mark of the beast.
No, that's not it.
Oh,
It's the mystery of iniquity working in this present age.
okay. Okay, page 59. The mystery of iniquity working in this present age.
Okay, this present age, right here. Go ahead.
The papacy, or Roman Catholic Church, authorities claim that Nero Caesar, born in AD 37, ruled pagan Rome 14 years, or from AD 54 to the time of his death in AD 68. It says, see Duvet version of the Bible, edited by Reverend John O'Connell, M.A. STD, Imprimatur Samuel Cardinal Stritch.
Okay, we will be getting into that, the Douay Bible. I will be explaining some things about that, but when we get to the rebuttal. So I'm just going to have you keep reading that, Danielle.
Okay. Archbishop of Chicago, copyright 1958.
That was Cardinal Stritch. Go ahead.
Catholic Dictionary, page 38. They say that the death of Nero occurred about 2 years before the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem by Titus in AD 70, which fulfilled the prediction of the Messiah relative to the destruction of the temple, Matthew 24:2. Do you want that too?
No.
Okay.
I don't want it.
Okay. You want me to keep going?
Yes.
Oh, okay. They believe that he, Nero Caesar, was the beast of Revelation 13:18, marked with the satanic number 666.
This is the Roman Catholic Church. They're saying that Nero Caesar was the beast man of sin. That's who they're saying is the beast man of sin. Go ahead.
Or that he was the anti-Messiah or son of perdition. In this present age.
And he's the one in this present age. Read.
In this present age that persecuted and caused the martyrdom of early Yahshuans. The Roman Catholics say that by numerical and Aramaic letter equivalents, Nero Caesar was the beast.
Now, on page, I forgot what page that is. He breaks down those numerical numbers for Nero Caesar. What page is that? Oh yeah, there it is. It's the page after page 60. They break that down and they show by pagan Rome shows Nero Caesar, and they break down the numbers Aramaically, right? By the numbers, and they come up with 666. So that Nero Caesar's number is 666. Is it on the chart, the apostasy chart? Plate?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay, it's broken down over there. Yeah, let's take the camera over there and zoom that in so they can see that. Yep. Here's that Nero Caesar. Okay, now here they've broken down Nero Caesar so that you can see that his name is broken down and comes to the equal of 666. So that's how their pagan Rome is calling him the beast man of sin, or the son of perdition, or the anti-Messiah. They're calling Nero Caesar that, okay? See, you know what they're doing? They're taking the blame, and I'm going to really go at the Catholics tonight. You think you got to beat up by, people who come to class got to beat up by me tonight. I'm really mad at the Roman Catholics. I mean, the stuff that I have learned about Roman Catholicism in the last week, 2-3 weeks, is sickening. It's disgusting.
Yep.
It would blow you away if you knew in such interest. I mean, people have heard things. Yeah, I heard things about Roman Catholicism. But let me tell you what it's been doing for the last 2,000 years. Okay, go ahead.
Nero Caesar was the beast, and not the Pope of Rome, that John on the Isle of Patmos saw rise up out of the sea, having the name blasphemy written upon its 7 heads. Revelation 13:1. Also, Duvet version of the Bible, edited by Reverend John D. O'Connell, M.A.S.T., Imprimatur, Samuel Cardinal Stritch, Catholic Dictionary, page 170 and 241. See also all other Roman Catholic calculation and interpretation of the mark of the beast, 666, Revelation 13 and 18. Since Yahshua the Messiah, the true Son of Yahweh, who was born King of the Jews, Matthew 2:2, and also 27 and 37, fulfilled the law and the prophets, Matthew 5:17, nailing carnal ordinances to his cross.
Now that's shown over here. Right here. It shows that Yahshua the Messiah nailed these carnal ordinances to the cross. When he died, these ended. Carnal ordinances were done. He died for the sins of the world. Go ahead.
Colossians 2:14, and he is now officiating in heaven itself, and he is the one and only mediator.
He is the one and only mediator. Read.
Between Yahweh and man.
1 Timothy 2 and 5. Go ahead.
1 Timothy 2 and 5. The only true king and high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Hebrews 5 and 5 through 10, 7 and 14 through 21. Then Satan operating through the earthly Roman Catholic Church.
Now this is what Dr. Kinley said. He said, then Satan operating through the earthly Roman Catholic Church
tries hard to emulate or imitate him.
And that's all they do is emulate and imitate. Everything is imitating. The great imitator. Go ahead.
Yahshua the Messiah is what
they're imitating Yahshua. Go ahead.
And thereby continues to deceive the people of this earth plane, as the serpent or Satan did the woman Eve.
And that's here. As the Satan or the serpent did to Eve. Deceiving. That's all they're doing is deceiving It says that Satan deceives the whole world, not just them, but the whole world. And Roman Catholicism has had such a hold on the whole world that you can see how the beast man or the son of perdition is working right within that organization. I mean, they have a lot of clout. I don't know what other word to use, but they politically, financially, ecclesiastically, everything, they are so involved. And yes, you watch all around all the time, they're falling flatter than a fritter. All the time, they're falling and failing. They're not achieving what they did for the first 1,000 years. Go ahead. They're not achieving what they did till this man had a divine vision and revelation in 1931. He's the one who's shown the proof and the truth. Go ahead.
And thereby continues to deceive the people of this earth plane, as the serpent or Satan did the woman Eve in the Garden of Eden. It is also worthy to note that the Pope of Rome, or the anti-Messiah, the true...
Now he's just naming it like it is. The true...
or real son of perdition...
or real son of perdition, the Pope of Rome.
is marked in his forehead with the satanic number 666.
Now that's written out here. Vicarius Filii Dei. And his numbers his letter equivalent numbers break down to 666, pointing him out exactly who he is. And they know it. Roman Catholic hierarchy know it. They know that shows that the Pope is 666. They know everything. They know the truth. Go ahead.
666 by his title, conceived in his mind, which functions through his brain in his forehead. Therefore, he claims to be the vicar of the Son of God on earth. Revelation 14:9. This mark is also manifested to be...
Daniel, would you stop there? Go down to the next paragraph, and can you read just a little bit faster? I got quite a bit of going.
This unholy satanic character professes that he is the supreme head over all civil law.
And he says that he's the supreme head over all civil law courts. Read.
Civil law courts. Yahshua did suffer under Herod and Roman governor Pontius Pilate. And to add insult to injury, he, the anti-Messiah, is also now posing as the supreme head over all Christendom.
He makes these claims all the way through. You know, there's been many popes. You know, Yahshua said to Peter about sifting him how did he say? They seek to sift you as wheat. In other words, they were going to sift out of Peter as many popes as they could, and there's been a ton of popes. But what they represent has been the same all the way down. And by the way, Peter was not the first pope. And the Roman Catholic Church knows it. Go ahead.
Therefore, the anti-Messiah must be identified by all Christendom and revealed to the world by the satanic number 666, according to the Revelation 13 and 18, which will also be shown in the calculus, which reads as follows.
All right.
Did I miss a sentence?
No, go ahead and read that part, though. Go ahead and read. Here is the wisdom, and this is how it's done.
Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
It says it's a number of a man. It didn't say it's a number of the devil. It says the number of a man. And you know, we've been talking about Cain recently, and Cain's the one who had the mark put on him, 666 marked. And here's the thing. And Eve, when she had conceived him, she said, "I've gotten a man child." So that's the man. That's the man incarnated in Cain. And all the way back to Cain, you can take this. Go ahead.
In the following illustrations, the mark of the beast 666 is shown by some or so-called Christendom, the Roman Catholics. Is that right? In the titles applied to Nero or Neron, Caesar, ruler of pagan Rome. Then it is also shown how it was transferred by divine providence from Constantine.
Constantine, who became emperor of Rome.
Ruler of pagan Rome.
And he was ruler of pagan Rome, and he reinstituted or allowed the Christians to have prosperity in the country, because before they were being persecuted, and then Constantine, he converted. And when he converted to Christianity, then the Christians there were no longer persecuted. It became the national, or now worldly religion. Go ahead.
See the outline of history by H.G. Wells in AD 331 through 337 to the Pope of Rome, who later is called Vicarius Filii Dei.
Now, that Vicarius Filii Dei came about in the 5th century. In the 5th century, okay? So that's how long they've been calling him the Vicar of the Son of God on earth, okay? All right, which it says right there, which means Vicar of the Son of God or Vicar of Christ on earth. Now go over to page 62 and start at the second paragraph, and it starts with now in this dispensation of grace.
Now in this dispensation of grace, the authorities and the congregation of the Roman Catholic Church proclaim the Pope of Rome as their Holy Father and also call their priest Father, ignoring the express words of Yahshua the Messiah, Yahshua himself, while he was here in the flesh, saying, "Call no man your father upon the earth."
He said, call no man father. And he didn't mean your dad. He meant the priests and the cardinals and the monsignors and the popes. And they call the Pope the Holy Father. Go ahead, read. Because he said, one is your Father, which is in heaven. All right, go ahead, Danielle.
For one is your Father which is in heaven. Matthew 23:9. Now Satan, being the copycat that he is, has subscribed the Roman Catholic Church in his earthly kingdom to recognize him as its Holy Father instead of Yahweh. Furthermore, the papacy has from time to time reestablished carnal ordinances.
And they reestablished the carnal ordinances. And we just said that they were nailed to his cross. It ended there. But they reestablished carnal ordinances and about 4,000 more. Go ahead.
Established indulgences, laws, and bylaws and regulations, which for the most part are unknown, forgotten, or overlooked.
And they are unknown and forgotten and overlooked. I don't believe that there's any Roman Catholic who realizes exactly all the laws and ordinances that they're under. If they did, I don't know. Would they still be Roman Catholics? Maybe. I don't know. Go ahead.
Forgotten or overlooked by themselves. The Roman
You don't have to read that part, Danielle, in
Okay.
parentheses.
Okay. For the world to exist under and give obedience and allegiance to, thereby placing the ecclesiastical world under bondage, despite the removal of this bondage through
So they can keep you in bondage. Okay, now, let's see. Go down to the next paragraph.
According to the statement issued to the Council of Trent.
Now, this was at the Council of Trent. Now, the Council of Trent was, it'll tell you over here that the Council of Trent was opened under Pope Paul III in 1545 and continued, it went on for quite a while, and continued under Pope Julius III and Pope Pius IV until AD 1563. So it was a long council that they had. And what I want you to read is, okay, so it appears that the person referred to bearing the name Pope mentioned in the preceding paragraphs is handling the scriptures deceitfully. So now, what the decree of the Council of Trent between 1545 and 1563 said, go ahead and read that, Danielle, that says the Pope is, and I want you to understand that this is, what, 500 years ago? Less than 500 years ago? Go ahead. That this was proclaimed about the Pope, and he still holds fast to it? Go ahead.
Okay.
The Pope is immaculate.
I don't see that. I'm sorry. Where are you? The same paragraph?
Bottom paragraph.
Okay. Oh, okay. It says from the decrees of the Council of Trent.
There were many decrees, by the way, and I looked this up. I looked up and looked at all the decrees. I mean, see, all the time the Catholic Church is trying to fix itself, to make itself so that people will accept it. It's just like what pagan, how Easter is pagan. It's like they went out and they said, okay, we're going to preach Christianity, but they're not going to accept it. So what we'll do is we'll take some of their pagan gods and add it into what we want them to understand, and then we'll make it all sound like it's all, what's the word, homogeneous? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. AD 1545 through 1563. ...
Now, what I found out about the Council of Trent also, too, was that was called to order as a reaction to Protestant Reformation. So that was around the time that Martin Luther nailed his thesis to the door of a church. And what he was really up against, or what he was against at the time, was that the church was taking money from the people, poor people, and taking the money and putting it in their coffers. And it was their indulgences that they would pay the way for their loved ones and people who had died before them into heaven, pay their way into heaven. Because if you gave the church money, then they would pray their way out of heaven, but you had to pay for it. That was one of the major things that caused that to happen. Another thing that happened was King Henry decided, King Henry VIII, I'm Henry VIII, I am, because he had how many wives? 6 wives. And his second wife that he wanted, he could not have because he was still married. And so what he wanted was now by the way, they're Roman Catholic at this time. England, where's the thing that says wife on here? Oh, here we are. Yeah. Okay, right here. England was Roman Catholic, says wife right there. England was Roman Catholic at the time of King Henry, and King Henry married a Roman Catholic, and he didn't want her anymore. He wanted pretty little Anne Boleyn. And so what he did was he wanted a divorce. So he went to the Pope and said, grant me a divorce. I want to divorce my wife. Well, there is no divorce in the Roman Catholic Church at that time, and therefore he said, okay, don't grant me, I'm just going to leave the church and become a church by myself, the Church of England. And so that's the beginning of the Protestant Reformation. In England, is King Henry just decides, I'll be head of the church, not the Pope. And so he divorced his wife and married little Anne Boleyn, but she didn't bring forth a son, and so he lopped off her head and got another wife. Okay, so anyway, read what it said at the Council of Trent, what they said about the Pope.
Quote, ... The Pope is immaculate.
The Pope is immaculate. Do you know what immaculate means?
Pure, without blemish. Spot.
Right, she's right. Pure, without blemish. That's what they say, that the Virgin Mary was immaculate. She is the Immaculate Conception. I got news for you. There's no way she was the Immaculate Conception. The Immaculate Conception is Yahshua. Go ahead.
Infallible.
He's infallible. No going up against him. He's infallible. Read.
And irresponsible to any earthly tribunal.
He's not responsible to any earthly tribunal or power. Nobody has any power over him. He has all power. Go ahead.
Earthly tribunal or power. He is judge of all.
He's the judge of all.
Can be judged by none.
Nobody judges him.
Kings, priests, nor people.
Nobody. President Trump, who, by the way, will make friends with him so that he can get his way. Go ahead.
He is free from all laws, so that he cannot incur any sentence or penalty for any crime. He is all in all and above all.
Now it says he is all in all. I believe that it also says in the first volume here that Yahweh is all in all, not the Pope.
Right.
Go ahead.
He is...
Right. The Bible too.
He is all in all and above all, so that God and the Pope, the vicar of God, are but one.
So now he gets to be one with God. The Pope becomes one with God. Go ahead.
Wherefore the Pope hath power to abrogate laws.
Which means to appeal or do away with. Abrogate or repeal or do away with laws. Go ahead.
To dispense all things in regards to marriage, usury, divorce, homicide, perjury.
So he's a judge. Go ahead.
He hath all power on earth, purgatory, heaven, and hell.
He's going to cover all the bases. Go ahead.
To bind, loose, command, permit, dispense, do, and undo.
So I would say he has power over old Satan too, huh? Go ahead.
Therefore, it is declared to stand upon necessity of salvation.
Therefore, it's declared to stand upon necessity of salvation for every human creature to be subject to the Roman pontiff. Everyone, whether you're Roman Catholic or not. Everyone is subject to the pontiff. Go ahead. Which, by the way, means bridge. Read.
For every human creature to be subject to the Roman pontiff. All temporal power is his. The dominion, jurisdiction, and government of the whole earth is his divine right. All rulers of the earth are his subjects and must submit to him. Infallibility in the spiritual order and absolute sovereignty in the temporal and synonyms
Are synonymous.
are synonymous and convertible terms.
Okay, now that says it's from the decrees of the Council of Trent. So what I was doing, I told you, was I was going back and I'm looking at stuff. This is not from the Council of Trent. This is a mistake that was put in the books. These aren't infallible. The Pope says he's infallible, but the book isn't infallible. Okay? They're not, these people who, Dr. Kinley, who wrote this, isn't going to tell you that he as a man was infallible. Okay? So where I found that it was written was in the First Vatican Council under Pope Pius IX, which was in 1870. So this is where that was declared by Pope Pius IX. Now, Pope Pius IX is also the longest reigning pope of all the popes that were ever elected. Okay? So that's where you find that the pope is immaculate, infallible, and irresponsible to any earthly power. Okay. Now, I could go on, but you can all go back and read this. Dr. Underwood wanted you to start reading from Strong Delusion of Virgin Mary Sent from Yahweh the other night. I'm just asking you to scoot up and go back a few more pages and read, start at the Mystery of Iniquity, Working in the Present Age, and read that through. So anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to go through these divine rebuttals. So start on page 82, and what you have to see is what the author of the book, Dr. Kinley, who wrote this volume, what he wrote is how he put it out was he would put what the church said under an A, and then he had a divine rebuttal under a number 1. Then the next rebuttal would be B, and then he had a divine rebuttal on number 2. And he goes all the way down 17 of them. Okay, I got as far as 3, but I'm only going to give you 2 because I still got to work on 3. So let's start with 1, and I'll show you the things that I found. And basically, I don't have to explain Dr. Kinley's rebuttals, the divine rebuttals. I'm trying to explain what the church is saying and where it came from and why and who said it. So go ahead.
Page 82, Volume 4, Roman Catholic Proclamation, the Supremacy of the Pope and the Divine Rebuttal.
Okay.
A.
So there is a divine rebuttal to this immaculate, infallible Pope. That's true and real, and you'll see all the reasoning that he has here. Go ahead.
Small a, little letter A.
Yep.
When the triple tiara is put on the Pope's head.
Now, the triple tiara is the crown that goes on the Pope's head when he goes through his coronation as Pope. Okay, go ahead.
The officiating cardinal says, "Receive the threefold crown of the tiara, and know that thou art the father of princes and kings."
Okay, once again, he's above all, so he is the father of princes and kings. Go ahead.
The ruler of the round earth, and here below the
He's
vicar.
the ruler of the round earth, and here below. I just want to know, how do they fit Jesus Christ into this? If they believe in Jesus Christ. Because the Pope's got all the power and everything. Where's Jesus in this? Go ahead.
The ruler of the round earth, and here below, the vicar of Jesus Christ, to whom be honor and glory forever. Did you want me to skip that again?
Okay, now, nope, I don't, because I'm going to explain that. So that's what is said when that triple crown, or the triple tiara, because they're no longer a triple crown tiara put on their head. They just put a tiara on. And the reason for that is because in 1961, when Dr. Kinley sent these books, and he sent one to Rome, to Vatican City, when he sent these out, they were in the middle of Vatican II. And they went, uh-oh, we got to change some things. We can't have this, because the whole world's going to see how this comes off on our little hat that we wear. It says Vicarius Filii Dei. It says that on the little hat. And now they've broken it down to 666, and that's true. So we got to get that hat. We can't have that hat anymore. We can't have that crown that has these numbers or these letters on it anymore. We can't have that, so it's got to go. Okay, so they stopped using the hat, the tiara, at least in that form. They still do a tiara, but in a different form. Okay, so go ahead and read. It says where this came from. See, this is where Dr. Kinley went to prove that he found this. Go ahead.
The Holy Bible.
The Holy Bible.
Dewey Challoner.
The Dewey Challoner text, which is a Roman Catholic Bible. So in other words, it's not going to say that or be coming from anybody else. Go ahead.
Edited by Reverend John D.
Now, it was edited by John D. O'Connell, it says, but I looked up, there is no John D. That's a typo. It's John P. O'Connell. Okay, John P. O'Connell of Chicago, who was an editor of the Roman Catholic Bibles and other writings at that time. Okay, he did a lot of editing for them. Go ahead.
Okay, John P.
And let me explain what the Dewey Challoner text of the Roman Catholic Bible is. Douay is a Catholic seminary in Douay, France. So that's where that Douay comes from. Challoner is the Roman Catholic bishop in England from 1749 to 1777 who had prepared several extensive revisions of the Rheims Douay Bible. And the Rheims is the New Testament portion published in Rheims, France. So these are where sometimes you'll see the Douay, you'll see the Dewey Challoner, and you'll see the Rheims Douay Bible. Okay, these are all different Bibles, all just like we have a million Bibles now coming up every day. They've been around a while. Go ahead.
John D. O'Connell, M.A., S.T.D., Imprimatur Samuel Cardinal
Okay, now
Stritch.
imprimatur means official approval, a license to print or publish, especially by Roman Catholic Church Episcopal authority. So this was official approval, read.
Samuel Cardinal
By
Stritch.
Samuel Cardinal Stritch. Right?
Yep.
Is that it?
Archbishop of Chicago.
Who was the Archbishop of Chicago. Now, let me say something else about the Bibles. The Rheims Bible was in 1582. That was the Roman Catholic Bible. Now, 1582 is just after the Council of Trent. Okay, Challoner Bible, Roman Catholic Bible, was in 1752. The King James Bible was 1611, and that was used by Protestants and not by Roman Catholics, although King James, was a baptized Roman Catholic. Okay, now, Samuel Alphonsus Stritch, who was the Archbishop, all right, where you get this writing from. He was an American cardinal prelate of the Roman Catholic Church, served as Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Chicago from 1940 to 1958, and as a pro-prefect of the Sacred Congregation for the propagation of the faith. It's a sacred congregation. From March 1958 to his death 2 months later, May 27th, 1958. Now he died, what? Okay, all right, now, when he died, that day that he died, I wrote it down because I wanted to write it down. Dr. Kinley was on the floor. Not in Chicago. He was on the floor, and the exact moment that that man died, on May 27, 1958, he said, Cardinal Stritch just died. Or just took his last breath, is how he said it. And it's in the transcript, precept upon precept, March 1975, in the Albuquerque manuscript, page 20 and 21. That's where you can read about Dr. Kinley saying that in his transcript. Now, he said he just died. Everybody went out to their cars, he said. They ran out to their cars. Now, by the way, when you read that he said this is him talking about when he said it and what they did. Because he was able to predict things. He was also aware of everything that was going on. So when that happened, they ran out to their cars and turned on their radios, and sure enough, he had died. Now, he was quite a well-known priest or Roman Catholic at the time, very huge, because he was, he was a friend of Pope Pius XII. Now, let me tell you about the most fantastic, in modern times, the most fantastic, evil, maniacal, nasty pope in the world, Pope Pius XII. Bad. I won't add the rest on the end of it. Bad. The things I read about him today make your toenails curl. Absolutely. First of all, he had the power to stop the annihilation of the Jews during World War II. He could have stopped it. He could have stopped the war with Germany. He had that kind of power. He could have stopped it, but he didn't. He was friends with Hitler. To a certain extent, he was friends with Hitler. Okay. So, Stritch oversaw the establishment of the first American chapter of the Opus Dei, and you've heard of Opus Dei. Also, he confirmed, you know, Catholics get communion and confirmation and all that. He confirmed and mentored Danny Thomas, and later urged him to locate St. Jude's, Danny Thomas's St. Jude's, in Memphis. He had, I mean, why he did that, I don't know. I mean, I would have to read some other things, why he thought that he wanted it like that. So anyway, so that was Cardinal Stritch, and that's who wrote this little piece here that we're about to have a rebuttal on. Now, I'm going to tell you a few things. An archbishop is just a bishop of higher rank. A cardinal is a senior, and I'm going to give you these terms so that you can kind of figure out what's what, because some of us, I was a Roman Catholic, I can't say I knew everything. I thought I knew the order of priests and cardinals and things. I probably still don't, but anyway, a cardinal is a senior ecclesiastical leader and usually is an ordained bishop of the Roman Catholic Church. In other words, an archbishop doesn't have to be ordained. Called Prince of the Church and is elected by Pope. Archdiocese, and an archdiocese, which we were talking about with Cardinal Stritch, is a district of responsibility of the archbishop, and dioceses are under the bishops. A pro-prefect, remember I said that Cardinal Stritch was a pro-prefect of the Sacred Congregation for Propagation of the Faith from March 1958 to his death. That pro-prefect just means that he is just a leader of an administrative area. The words they use, how about this one, ex cathedra, which is when the Pope speaks ex cathedra. Okay, that means with full authority of office, declared infallible by the Pope, means literally speaking from the chair, his chair. It's official. By the way, I read this. Only 2 doctrines of the church have been declared ex cathedra. Only 2 doctrines of the church have been declared ex cathedra. Mary's Immaculate Conception and Mary's Assumption. And those are 2 things that didn't happen. All right, papal bull. Papal bull is what it is, papal bull. But it also means public decree, letters, patent, or charter issued by the Pope. It is named after the leaden seal that is appended to the end of the decree, letter, or charter authenticating the document. Dogma, something held as established opinion. Now that freaked me out. I thought dogma was just truth. No, it's something held as an established opinion. So if the church has dogma, it's their established opinion. A point of view or tenet put forth as authoritative with adequate grounds. Just adequate? Holy See, in short, is the Pope. The Holy See is what he oversees, and it is him. He is the Holy See. When you hear the term, they went and presented themselves to the Holy See, that's the Pope. The Pope in Latin word means Papa. And when they say Papa, it's just Father. So they're going to call him Holy Father. And that's Matthew 23:9. Vicar or vicar is one serving as a substitute or an agent. And all he's saying is he's the substitute or the agent of Jesus Christ on earth. We don't want the substitute. Don't we want the reality? Okay, so vicar of Christ or vicar of Christ is the Pope. Word was applied generically to bishops in the 3rd century, as long ago as the 3rd century. okay? It comes from Pontifex Maximus, who was a pagan high priest, professing to be the link between this life and the next. So that's what pontiff, I'm sorry, I skipped a thing. I went to pontiff. I want to go back to here. Going back to the bishops in the 3rd century. Pope Gelasius in the 5th century was the first pope to be called the Vicar of Christ. Also, Pope Boniface III in 607 AD was the first to accept the title pope. So they didn't start calling him pope or be accepted until 607. But the Catholic Church's been around since well, I read we all say, well, around 325 or 3 with Constantine, but you can see the Catholic Church rising up within 100 AD. 100 AD, 100 years after Yahshua's death, right? Okay, so pontiff means bridge, making the pope more as a cult. No, it wasn't a full-fledged institution, but it was rising. It was taking on shape and form. Okay, so pontiff means bridge, making the pope the mediator between God and men. It comes from Pontifex Maximus there, who was a pagan high priest that professed to be the link between life and the next. So that's how you got pontiff, was this Pontifex Maximus, who was a high priest, a pagan high priest. And now we call the pope the pontiff. Pontificate is to speak in a pompous manner. When the pope pontificates, they say that. Or somebody will say, oh, you're just pontificating, It means to speak in a pompous manner. The pope has the authority to establish doctrine. When he speaks, it's called ex cathedra. The New York Catechism says, now listen to this, the Pope takes the place of Jesus Christ on earth. By divine right, the Pope has the supreme and full power in faith and morals over each and every pastor and his flock. He is the true vicar of Christ, the head of the entire church, the father and teacher of all Christians. He is the infallible ruler, the founder of dogmas, the author and judge of councils, the universal ruler of truth, the arbiter of the world, the supreme judge of heaven and earth, the judge of all, being judged by no one, God himself on earth. And this is written in the Roman Catholicism book by Lorraine Bottner. Now, Lorraine Bottner was not a Roman Catholic. It's a guy. It's his research into the church and the dogma and the doctrines. Okay, so now I'm going to get to the tiara. The tiara in historical records. The tiara is worn as a Persian headdress of a great king, known as a camelacum. It means camel skin hat, also known as a camaro. It is similar in shape to the papal tiaras. It was part of court dress in the Byzantium Empire. It is of pagan origin, associated with Attis and Cybele, who were gods, who were Persian gods. Okay. The papal tiara was worn by popes from the 8th century to the mid-20th century. It is called tiara no matter how many crowns, circlets, or diadems that have adorned it through the ages. The 3-tiered one, the triple crown tiara, took place in the 14th century and was first noticed on an effigy of Pope Benedict XII and was displayed on his coat of arms around 1315 or 16. Also called terrarium, triple tiara, or triple crown. The papal tiara was used as the papal coronation from 1143 to 1963. Right after the books were put out. That was the end of it. No more. Now, there were many different triple tiaras, triple tiara or triple crowns. There's many different ones that they had. They didn't just have one, but they all went into storage or on display somewhere. There's one in Washington, D.C. that Pope Paul VI donated to this museum in Washington. I think it's a Roman Catholic museum, but nonetheless. The triple tiara was last used by Pope Paul VI, and only at the beginning of his reign. In other words, he was crowned with it, and then it was done. And his name was Paul VI. And at the end of the 3rd session of the Second Vatican Council, Second Vatican Council was called by Pope John. Actually, it was just before Pope John that I read, before Pope John was crowned. Vatican Council began to, because the Vatican Councils aren't a year long, they're years long. And there's been 2 of them, one in 1870, 50 to 70 or somewhere in there. That was the first Vatican Council, and the Second Vatican Council is in the 1950s or whatever. Okay, now it says that at the end of the 3rd session of the Second Vatican Council, Paul VI came down the steps of the papal throne in St. Peter's Basilica and went to the altar where he laid down the tiara as a sign of renunciation of human glory and power in keeping with the renewed spirit of the council. So he made a huge show of taking off that tiara and putting it down. And that was after these books. After this divine vision and revelation was given to Dr. Kinley in 1931, he wrote these books, and these books went out in 61. They went out in 61. They were sent to all the heads of all the countries. And by the way, Rome, including the Pope, and I was going to say, by the way, Vatican City, where the Pope lives, is a country by itself. It's the smallest country in the world, but it's a country. So he went there. So what do you think he did? He saw that, and he saw that. They read those books. He might not have read it, but somebody went to him and said, I read these books that came in the mail last week, and let me tell you, we got to get rid of that crown. I would suggest it, old Pope Paul VI, whatever. But he put it down, and he made great pompous about it, and showing his humility, but not really. That tiara would be sold and money given to charity. Oh, here it is. It was purchased by the Catholics in the U.S. and is on display in the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. Subsequently, papal coronations are now inaugurations. So they don't call them coronations anymore because they're not crowning anything. It's just an inauguration. They don't use them anymore. No more tiaras. They're done with that. Okay, so read Dr. Kinley's rebuttal.
82. And I'm going to start with the number 1 under Roman Okay. In direct disagreement and disapproval to the above statement, the Apostle Paul says, "And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible." And that's 1 Corinthians 9:25. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, not just the man-made physical crown, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, the Pope.
He says the Pope. Just plainly puts it like that. Go ahead.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, Satan, against spiritual wickedness in high places, the Vatican, Ephesians 6:11 through 12. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, and there's a little box here.
You don't have to read that because I pretty much explained that.
Okay. Nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature, the Pope, shall be able to separate us from the love of Yahweh.
Which is in.
Yeah, she was fixing my mic. Which is in Yahshua the Messiah, our Elohim.
Yep.
Romans 8:37 through 39. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight, and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us.
And the race that's set before us is to preach this gospel and to show this iniquity, this beast man of sin. Show who that is. We got to run the race. Go ahead, Andy.
Looking unto Yahshua, the author and finisher of our faith.
And that's it. Yahshua's the author and the finisher of our faith. Yahshua. Go ahead.
Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Yahweh.
Not the Pope.
Right.
Yahshua. All right. Well, I kind of took up all the time, and this next rebuttal's a little long, so I'm going to quit. But anyway, I'm going to go through each one of them. It's going to take a few years, but do you want me to keep going or not? Do you want me to go into the next one? All right, I can finish the next one, and then I'll do 2 at a time every time I get called. Well, if Yahshua puts it on my heart, because I'm telling you, I'm lazy. And then once I get going, I can't stop, and then I get so involved in it, and all the stuff I had to look at, I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. There's stuff that I read that I didn't even bother to write it down or try to, I can't. The Roman Catholic Church is the most satanic institution in this world right now, and has such power over everybody else. I'm so grateful Yahshua has shown this to me and to all of us, that we can see and understand and see through it, and see how this is actually working. Because, this chart, Aya Asher Aya, it says, I will be what I will to be. And then you see here, you have vision and you have revelation here. This is what Yahshua has revealed to us. Yahshua, but he's also shown us through that revelation, he's shown us this over here. But we're not under this part here, delusion. It's not a delusion to us. He has revealed to us who that mystery of iniquity is. And not just by a number, but by all these titles that he has put on himself. He calls himself the God of this world, the anointed cherub, the murderer. Yahshua called him murderer. He's the man of sin. He's the accuser of the brethren. He's a liar. He's the beast. How much worse can it get, But we can see, this is the thing. We're in the light. This is in the darkness. And you see how this graduates to the darkness? Okay, so now this is where you want to be. You want to be the bride. You see the woman there? You want to be the bride of Yahshua. And you want to see that Yahweh is Sabbath, shepherd, banner, provider, healer, righteousness, host. And that we're taking on shape and form right within him. And he's taking on shape and form right within us. We're one with him. That's what it says in John. That he wants Yahshua pray to his Father that we be one with him. And the only way that you're going to understand all this other junk that's going on, and by the way, I'm grateful for this. Get the knowledge and understanding of this now, because in the next age, we're not going to have to deal with them anymore. Dr. Kinley said he'd put him away for a while, maybe bring him out later, whatever, but he's going down. He's done. He's going to be at the other end of that fixed Golf. He's going to be at the other end, okay? The one that we're not planning on going to. Okay, so go ahead.
You left off on, it says Hebrews
I want
12,
B.
1 through 2.
I want you to do B, the Holy Father.
Right. Hebrews 12, 1 through 2 is the last part of the A.
Okay.
Okay. B, the Holy Father is not alone the supreme head of the Catholic Church. He is also the head of a sovereign state.
Okay, he's the head of the sovereign state, and that sovereign state is Vatican City. Go ahead.
38 countries have representatives at the Holy See.
Now, at the time, it says there that when this was written in 1940, it says that there's 38 countries that have representatives at the Holy See, or under the auspices of the Roman Catholic Church, or as Dr. David Underwood says, the RCC. But now, it's not 38 countries, it's 87 countries today. Okay, go ahead. And that was written by Cardinal Spellman, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I did write down something about Cardinal Spellman so you would know who he was and where he came from. His name was Francis Joseph Spellman, and he was a bishop and cardinal in 1946. He was the 6th Archbishop of New York, and he was appointed by who? My most favorite pope, Pope Pius XII, the dirty deedy devil. Close friends with, it says here in this thing I looked up, he was close friends with J. Edgar Hoover. Interesting. Isn't that interesting?
They're all in the same.
Yeah, really. The sovereign state. Now, a sovereign state here is Vatican City. It's only 109 acres, roughly. That's how big this country is. And it became the country under the Lateran Treaty with Italy under Pope Pius XI in 1929. Vatican City recognized as an independent state. At that same time, the Italian government was giving financial compensation to the RCC for the loss of all these papal states. See, at one time, they had the Roman Catholic Church had different states in Italy that were under their auspices, okay? And so what Italy didn't like the way that politically this was going on. This is all, by the way, it's very much political. And so they didn't want the Roman Catholic Church to have the power over these other states, certain ones in Italy, and they're marked, and you can look them up if you want to. So what they did was they got the Roman Catholics to leave those states alone, give them back to Italy, or under the government of Italy. But in the meantime, then Italy had to pay the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church, and they paid them millions of lira. Millions for doing this. So of course, you know, the church is always about money. So anyway, so that's what that's about the sovereign state. And then okay, go ahead.
Okay. Cardinal Spellman, March 12, 1940. See New York Times, March 12, 1940. Number 2.
Now 2 is the rebuttal.
To the first sentence of Cardinal Spellman's above statement, Yahshua the Messiah himself condemned the title Holy Father.
And we already read about that at the beginning of class, about it. Call no man Father. Go ahead.
As addressed and applied to the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, Yahshua in his own words said, call no man your Father upon the earth. The reason, for one is your Father which is in heaven, Matthew 23:9.
Right.
Holy Father, keep through thine own name those who thou hast given me.
Now that was Yahshua praying to his Father. Holy Father, keep in thy own name those that thou hast given me. Go ahead, read.
That they may be one as we are one.
And then again, so that they may be one, or we may be one, as Yahweh and Yahshua are one. Not a Trinity, one. Read.
John 17:11. The word Pope is not in the Bible, except its synonym as the anti-Messiah. 2 Thessalonians 2:3-12.
Right.
Revelation 17:1-10. Do you think that the true people of Yahweh of this earth plane have had their conscience so badly seared or brainwashed and circumscribed with the Roman Catholic doctrine or philosophy that they should completely ignore the express words of Yahshua the Messiah himself, forbidding us to call the so-called Pope of Rome the Father, or worse yet, the Holy Father, and that we should do it anyhow, contrary to the divine command of Yahshua the Messiah?
No, the true people of Yahweh aren't going to do that. But the non-true people of Yahweh, oh yeah, for sure. Their minds have been so badly seared. Yeah, they're going to do it. Go ahead.
Again, may I ask you, if you think that Yahshua was praying to the Creator, Yahweh Elohim, or a creature like Peter, or some other so-called pope or ruler on earth or in heaven for political domination and ecclesiastical unity, when he said, Holy Father, keep through thine own name those who thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are, John 17:11. Remember also that Yahshua said to those who afterwards crucified him, Ye call me Master and Rabbi, and ye say, well, for so I am, John 13:13. And why call ye me Rabbi, Rabbi, and do not the things which I say? Luke 6:46. To those who deliberately choose to ignore or disobey the divine command of Yahweh and continue to call the Pope of Rome the Father or Holy Father, the Apostle Paul said, for whom Yahweh loveth, he chasteneth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, Yahweh dealeth with you as with sons.
He will deal with you as sons if you endure the chastening. But if you don't, you're not a son. Go ahead. What's he going to say?
For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not?
Mm-hmm.
But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards
Right.
and not sons?
Bastards, you're just not a son. You're not a true son. Go ahead.
Hebrews 12 and 6 through 8. As for the second and third sentence of Cardinal Spellman's statement above, the reference to the so-called Holy Father, which reads thus, he is also the head of a sovereign state. 38 countries, or you said 87, correct?
Well,
Currently?
it's 87 now.
Now, right.
Now, it was 38 then.
Right. Well, yeah. Of course. 38 countries have representatives at the Holy See. May I remind the cardinal that the Elohim of heaven and earth permitted King Nebuchadnezzar and his assistants to establish Babylon, but thereafter Yahweh overthrew it, not to mention the details of his overthrow of the Media, Persian, Grecian, and Roman empires for their so-called religious and idolatrous political worship. The chosen people of Yahweh, the Israelites, were taken captive to Babylon for 70 years because of their disobedience. The true prophets of Yahweh suffered with the disobedient, during which time Daniel the prophet prophesied. And in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom...
And it's not going to be Vatican City. And it's not going to be the world. That kingdom is not, it's been set up. Since Yahshua's death, burial, resurrection, outpouring of the Holy Spirit. It's set up. It's here. It's now. But it's not visible to the naked eye. Go ahead.
Which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. That is to say, no man in the flesh on the earth plane, including Peter and the rest of the apostles, or their so-called...
See, it included Peter and the apostles. Go ahead.
And the rest of the apostles, or their so-called successors...
Which they're so-called. Go ahead.
Pope, cardinals, priests, preachers, and political diplomats. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms.
So it's going to break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, just like this was broken and consumed all these kingdoms. Babylon, Media, Persia, Grecia, pagan Rome, and papal Rome. And that was that rock that was cut out, or that stone that was cut out. Go ahead.
And it shall stand forever. Daniel 2 and 44. See, either sword is...
Yeah, I'm good there.
Okay.
C is the next rebuttal,
Okay.
and I'm not that far. Okay, well, I didn't take up the rest of the time, but what I wanted to show was that when you read these rebuttals, it's just like David has these rebuttals written out here, and he's going through completely different things than what I went through in his work that he went and studied. There's so much that can be drawn out of everything that was ever written by Dr. Kinley or ever said by Dr. Kinley, and that was all about Yahshua. So I guess you could say that it's eternal, and you're not going to run out of being able to see and understand anything about this teaching ever, because we'll be learning in ages to come. When we take off this physical body and we inherit our immortal glorified body, we're still going to be learning. And that's the other thing, is that's what we're doing when we come down here, is we're learning. And it's a great joy and comfort to learn about Yahshua the Messiah and learn about who he is and what he's doing. I didn't say who he was and what he did. I said who he is and what he's doing in this earth right now. The rebuttal? Oh. Start at page 59 and then go through to the rebuttals. And the rebuttals go quite a ways. I mean, if you were just going to say, well, I'm not going to read the whole volume 4 this year, you could read from page 59 to, where's the end of that? 92. 59 to 92 would be a nice little beginning to... There's so much more in that volume, so much more that you could read and understand. And the whole, really, volume 4 is a rebuttal altogether. With that, I say hallelujah.
Thank you, Dr. Craig. Do you want me? All right, since there's only a limited time left, we'll just open the floor for testimony. The next speaker for this evening's session to make closing comments will be the president of the school, Dr. Tina Pettigrew.
Good evening. I enjoyed that thoroughly. Good evening. What she just went through, it's worth going into the Elohim book and reading that thing, but reading it in order so that once you get to the 4th volume, you can understand these things. As she was going through that, I was thinking of how we have been. Can you get Revelation? I only have a couple minutes. How that he's deceived the whole world. And a lot of when as she was going over that, I was thinking every government, every school, everything, just like the children of Israel were in that darkness. They were inundated into a darkness that they could feel. Do you understand? And that what she's going over and talking about Babylon, how this all started, and that deep darkness, and how that satanic mystery of iniquity operates so smoothly in our lives that we don't even recognize that it's a problem until Yahshua the Messiah turns on the light and shows you. Do you understand how far in darkness you were in? And it's a very serious thing. And so we're very thankful to be a part of this gospel. Go ahead and read Revelation, Danielle. And it also brought to mind Adam and Eve in the garden and how it all started, and how that Yahshua the Messiah has to be that Redeemer in you. Do you understand?
Revelation 12 and 10.
Okay.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world.
So stop right there for a moment. Satan deceiveth. Ongoing. So you might have a golden room that's white apparel with all white. You understand, this Satan, this devil, does not appear as man has made him to appear, as a red devil with horns. You would be afraid of that. But he appears as a beautiful angel. Do you understand? He's a smooth operator. And people confuse that. Do you understand? People are deceived with that. Do you understand? It doesn't look cute to come down here, and also what she was saying about coming to class, you understand? And it's because we need to hear you. See, and it reminds me of how our brethren some years ago had lost his daughter, Chuck Johnson. And she had that dream before she passed. That, I mean, this is not doctrine. This is a testimony. But that heaven was sharing food with each other, and hell was just eating for yourself. And it's how that satanic worship, that satanic spirit works. He's selfish, and he's doing everything for himself. Do you understand? But coming to class, and that scripture that talks about, don't forbid yourselves to assemble with the body. Do you understand? You know what that is? I'm so sorry, I don't remember that. But what I'm saying is that, you know, if you have to eat alone, you have to eat alone. But it's better to eat with people on a physical, you know, where we take the natural things to understand the spiritual things. So heaven is sharing that food with one another. And you might think that you don't have anything to say because, you know, some people come in here and they think, oh my gosh, you guys are on college level and we will never be able to catch up. It's not about catching up. When these children of Israel came out of Egypt, they all came out together. Yahweh sent Moses down there to bring them out together, and they came as one, as a unit. You understand? And then up into Yahshua, it's a unity. It's not a competition. You know, when we have someone who gets up here and just says what's on their heart from where they are, we are grateful for you even seeing anything, because many of us for 40 years plus have gone out and tried to talk to people about this thing and been rejected. And, you know, we grew up in school, we got Christmas rolls around, we got to deal with that, and, you know, the Valentine's Day and all these things that are steeped in what she was talking about that is in that 4th volume, you see. And now people are coming out into the churches and coming out and saying they don't want to, you know, have this, you know, because they do Kwanzaa and they do these other things, but we've been suffering for this from way back, you know. And they're like, well, how do you, you know, people who are like, I'm getting off track, but I'm just trying to say that Yahshua is real, you see. Satan is real, you see. And come and learn of him while you can, you see. And Yahshua, was it Yahshua? Yeah. Those people back there that considered the scriptures and sat with them, the brilliant, yeah. They considered these things, you see. Anyway, go ahead and keep reading. I only have a couple minutes.
Revelation 7:10. And the great dragon is cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world.
He deceived me. He deceived my mama. He deceived my daddy. He deceived my friends. He deceived my... You understand? Consider that you might be deceived, you know, if, you know, out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? And consider Yahshua the Messiah. Consider the truth. He declared his name. When he brought them out of this oppression down here, they were oppressed by Pharaoh, who was a type of that, of the Satan, what he's talking about. How he was cast out of heaven, you see, that great dragon. He was cast into that darkness, you see. And so then Pharaoh, being that type, he put those people under bondage. They worked for him to build treasure cities for him. He wasn't thinking about them and their well-being. Do you understand what I'm saying? But go ahead and read.
He was cast out into the earth.
So he was cast into the earth. This is where you and I reside, people, in the earth, you see.
And his angels were cast out with him.
And he's got a whole host of angels that were cast out with him. Read.
And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation.
But see, the salvation has come because he was cast out of heaven and Yahshua was there now. You see what I'm saying? And now salvation is come because the devil's not there. That's what we hope. That's what our hope is for later or for now. You know what I'm saying? You can have salvation now. to have him cast out. Yahshua has to cast him out, and it's through understanding, through the repetition of the preaching of the gospel, understanding that there is stability and stableness in your Creator, because he says in Malachi 3:6, I am Yahweh and I change not. You see, I don't have a lot to say. I just Hebrews 10 and 24. Hebrews 10 and 23.
Hebrews 10 and 23. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
So we don't want to forsake the assembling of ourselves together. You see, go ahead.
As the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching.
And you see the day approaching. The previous speakers in the other class was talking about in Matthew how that so as it was as the days of Noah, it will be this, as the coming, as in the days of the coming of the Son of Man, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. Okay, you Matthew, what is it? 24 and 37. But
24 and 37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
They were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until Noah entered the ark. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what's happening today. People are eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage. You understand? Going about your life, just not paying attention to where you came from or where you're going, or considering Yahshua the Messiah, considering that it does make a difference. This man, this all-powerful Yahweh, you see, this spiritual man came into shape and form and into the flesh, you see, for the sake of his creatures to save you. And you say, it don't matter what you call him. Are you kidding me? You know, if you're somebody you love, your parent, somebody died and they put on the tombstone, just name them whatever, it don't matter. It's like, no, you'd be very touchy about that. And this is somebody that's way above and beyond that, you see. Gave up your life for you and me, you understand? But anyway, be encouraged. Is there anything else that I have left hanging that I haven't said? Okay. So I just enjoyed that, and sometimes it gets underrated, that fourth volume. It really tells you where you are. And I couldn't imagine being Roman Catholic and coming out of that and looking back to see where you were. I mean, but it's all the same. The devil is the devil wherever you are. So you know, once you come out of that, you are grateful to have come out of that and to have knowledge, even if it's just a little bit, and share it with the brethren. Come eat with us. And I did want to say there was a lot of comments tonight, and I know that there's people out there like, I'm here and I am learning from, you know, we're not talking about you. You know, we're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Pettigrew. And that brings a close to our class session for this evening. Are there any comments or questions? Enjoy class. Thank you to our speakers for researching and bringing back information to the class. I'm just going to announce real quick that we do have our picnic, barbecue, Saturday, July 20th, 2019 at Hawk Island. Also, we do have the Albuquerque Spiritual Feast, November 8th through the 10th. And one more. The Unity in Yah Orlando class is going to be August 1st through the 4th. And are there any other announcements that need to be made at this time? All right, we can stand for the doxology. I'll be quoting the okay. Dr. Tandi Tripp said, love the brethren, and Dr. Welsh said there's a kids class. This Saturday, tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, tomorrow in this room at 4 o'clock. Okay, we can all stand for the doxology. We'll be quoting the last 2 verses of the book of Judah. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling, and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory, with exceeding joy, to the only wise Elohim, our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belong glory and majesty, dominion and power, both before all time and now and ever. Let the class say, Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.